Hi friends, welcome to the tutorials. My name is Pranav Shukla. I'm an English teacher. Today we are going for English textbook 10 NCERT. In the recent lecture we have gone for the first poetry, Dust of Snow, and today's concern is the second poetry by the same poet Robert Frost, Fire and Ice. Again, this is a very small poetry, but again with a very powerful and direct message. In Dust of Snow, we have a lot of things to be learned from what is not said, what is unsaid. We had to go beyond the text. So what was beneath the poetry was the real message. So that poetry was a bit indirect, but this is a very straightforward and a direct poetry. Again with a very powerful message. We are confronted with the bitter reality of our human existence and our fragile earth. Friends, the theme is very contemporary, very obvious, very universal. And this poetry is actually the try from the poet to break the arrogance of the human being, that they are omnipotent, they can do anything. As we all know that we are very arrogant, that we know we can control the whole earth, the entire nature, and we are in a way a race to become most powerful in the world. The people are fragmented into nations and culture and religion and caste and creed and race and all that. And we are all racing towards making ourselves more and more powerful. Bigger nations are exploiting the smaller nations. Powerful people are exploiting the poor people. And all this power thinks that they are unbeaten, they are immortal. But nature does something now and then to make us realize that we are very powerless, we are very tiny in front of its huge mighty power. And it causes now and then some huge destructions. As you know, Earth has witnessed many a times mass extinctions, and the most powerful agents of the earth have been destroyed. So human beings are nothing special. So the poet in this poetry brings us the fact towards us that the earth is going to be destroyed, and definitely destroyed, and the destroying agents are fire and ice. So again, friends, the superficial meaning or the material meaning of fire and ice means global warming, eruption of volcanoes, too much heat, and lot of that kind of agents which can burn the earth. Some terrestrial phenomenon can also burn the earth. That can be fire, apparently. And ice means ice age. The change in the world climate can also brings us to the ice age. It has also happened earlier, so might also happen further in the future and might destroy the whole earth. But if you consider Robert Frost, always sees the possibility of thinking something beyond the text. We have to understand something which is beyond the words. Something is unsaid, something is not apparently put over there. So if we consider that particular aspect of the poet, we have to think a bit differently. natural calamities and natural phenomena definitely play their part in destroying the earth. But the way the human beings lead themselves, driven by their greed and their anger and their fury and their hatred and their indifference, and a lot of human vices are there that might bring destruction earlier than the nature itself brings. So we have to see that aspect of the poetry also. And as we see the writing period of this poetry, it is around First and Second World War. So the people who lived during that particular time had seen the reality of human nature, and poet is also one of the witnesses of the same kind of time. This poetry is, I think, around 1923. So it is a time between First World War and Second World War. So I can say maybe it is the time of Second World War. So it was a lot of ups and downs and a lot of very tense situations had been there, and poet might be affected by the same kind of time phase and might have predicted the end of the world barabar in two ways, either fire or ice. So if we consider that aspect of the poetry, we can guess here the fire is the desire, the passions of the human being, the anger, the fury that we have, and the conflict that is the follower of this anger and fury. Avarice could be fire that is within the human beings, and they erupt it at times against the other human beings, and that can cause a destruction of the entire human race along with the other animals. The entire earth can be destroyed. Some people are so intelligent, but they are on the wrong path. They are in a way coward or timid. They don't openly express their anger and fury, but they cultivate hatred, insensitivity, indifference in their heart, and that can lead the world towards destruction. As it is said, not reacting from a wise man could be very much dangerous than the reaction from a very angry man or a foolish man. So here the eyes could be hatred in the heart, indifference, a very cold one, indifference in the heart for the others, cruelty, insensitivity in the heart could also lead the world to destruction. So again, a very symbolic importance is there of these two words, fire and ice. You have to consider the symbolic meaning of fire and ice rather than the material, concrete or surfacical meaning of the same terms. So let's see what the poet says about the future destruction, which might be very much close and approaching us very soon. The poet says, it seems as if he is narrating his own experience. It seems to be very experienced. The poet seems to be very much experienced regarding these terms. He might have seen the platform of the destruction by himself. He might be the witness or might be the victim of the same situation. And he feels that the fire will definitely end the world. It has got the enough potential, and he strongly favoring fire for destroying the earth. He favors the view, the opinion that the fire would would destroy the earth. But he feels another major uh, another major uh, mm, element that can destroy the earth would be ice. So he believes fire would destroy the earth, but if the earth had to be perished or the world had to be perished or destroyed twice, then ice has got enough potential of doing the same as was done by the fire. So it seems as if the poet has got some bitter experiences of both these agents of destroying the earth, and his experience is reflected in this poetry. So he says, some say the world will end in fire. That is the opinion of some people, that the world will end because of the anger, desire, fury of the people that can lead them to conflict and destroy them. Some say in ice. Some people have some different opinion. According to them, hatred, indifference, cruelty, insensitivity can lead the world to destruction. From what I have tested of fire, the poet has got the experience of fire. He has experience of desire of people, the lust of people who lead them to destroy the others by indulging them in conflict, in struggle with the other people. The people who are highly ambitious, desirous of getting power, money, they can destroy the other people and by leading them to conflict, and poet might be the victim of such kind of mentality. So he says, from what I have tested of fire, I hold with those who favor fire. But then he says, fire is enough to destroy the whole earth. And once the earth is destroyed, the world is destroyed, it is a rare chance of getting it upon its foot again. But in the second stanza, he proves the ability of ice even as the equivalent destroyer of the world. So very paradoxically he says, if the world had to perish twice, that is hardly possible. But if the chance does rise of getting perished twice, I think I know enough of hate. He also has got the experience of hatred. That is the ice that is in the heart of the people for the other people. The way they cultivate hatred, insensitivity, cruelty towards others can also lead them to destroy the world. I think I know enough of hate to say for destruction, ice means hate is also great and would suffice. Suffice means sufficient enough. So this is the poetry from Robert Frost, friends. He brings us the bitter reality of the human mentality and the destiny of our world. That if we carry on being very ambitious and desirous, our desire will work like fire, would indulge the whole world into conflict, struggle among each other, among one another. And that fire, that desire can lead us to destruction. And if not fire, on the other side, some people are very non-reactive, very indifferent. They cultivate hatred in their heart and they wait for the right time. When the right time strikes, very cold-bloodedly, they use their weapon of hatred. Rather, they show complete insensitivity to the other people, and by conspiring, by instigating the others, they work towards destroying the entire world. So this is a very cold-blooded destruction. There is also a huge possibility of destroying the earth. So it brings us two agents of destroying the earth, fire and ice, and probably making us alert, giving us warning, alarming us, stay away from both this fire and ice and let the world prosper and happy. But friends, the reality is totally different. Human beings are so understanding, so educated, but still they cannot overcome the villain of ambition in their heart, and that definitely lead the world to destruction. So this is what our poetry, fire and ice, friends. I will go for the figure of speech, the poetic devices. First of all, some say the world will end in fire. So we have these two words, fire as well as this word ice. So they are symbolic to desire and hatred respectively. So the figure of speech here is when some terms or words are used as symbols to the other ones. The figure of speech, the poetic device, is called as symbolism. These two words, some and some, are repeatedly used in the same stanza. It is the example of repetition. Now some and say, again some and say. See, these are two words which have got consonant sound so in the beginning repeated. So it is called as the use of alliteration. Here desire is tested by the poet. So it is indirectly compared with something to be eaten. So indirect comparison is taking place over there. It is the use of metaphor. When two things are compared without the word like or as, it is an indirect comparison. And this figure of speech is called as metaphor. I hold with those who favor fire. Again, friends, favor and fire. First sound is repeated in the beginning of these two words. Again, the use of alliteration is there. But if it had to perish twice, the entire line has got a very paradoxical fact. Paradox is something that seems to be very strange or untrue, but has got the reality behind it. So it has got the same world. Once it is perished, it is hardly revived. But if it has to perish twice, definitely will perish. So I think I know enough of hate. This line has got paradox. It is very strange but is true. So the figure of speech, paradox. I think I know enough of hate to say for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Ice is given a human quality of great, of being great. There is also the use of personification. So these are the main figure of speech in fire and ice. Now we have a very limited question answer. The only one is important for you. The first question is, there are many ideas about how the world will end. Do you think the world will end someday? Have you ever thought what would happen if the sun got so hot that burst and grew colder and colder? See, this is a natural phenomenon. Sun, as we know, all the stars have got different phases. All the stars, most of the stars, once burn their fuel and grow into their size and turn out to be red giant and consume the inner planets. So would be happen to the sun also. One day it will grow bigger and bigger, hotter and hotter, and will definitely consume the earth. Once it will be burst out of all its energy, its gravitational internal gravity will consume the entire mass of the sun, and it will be turned out to be a very small but a very heavy star, very cold one, could be called as white dwarf. And without sun, the existence of the planets will not be possible. So it will again be the end of the earth. So these are two phenomena from the extraterrestrial happening considered over there. Second question, for frost, Who do fire and ice stand for? Here are some ideas. So we've been given some words over there. Greed is there, avarice is there, cruelty is there, lust, conflict, fury, intolerance, rigidity, insensitivity, coldness, indifference, and hatred. So these words are symbolic representation of fire and ice. So I would put greed, avarice, lust, conflict, fury in fire, and I can say cruelty, intolerance, rigidity, insensitivity, coldness, indifference, and maybe hatred in ice. So all these vices, ill traits would lead the world to destruction. If we talk about the rhyme scheme, friends, see the end of the line. Fire is given A, desire is again, ice is B, desire is A, again fire is A, twice is B, hate is again B, ice is again B. So I would say the rhyming scheme is A, B, A, B, B, B. It's a very odd one. So this is what the rhyming scheme of the poetry. And the way the words like fire and ice with a different kind of rhymings put over there, along with twice and again with fire and ice and desire and hate, and so these all different kind of rhyming words, bringing the contrasting idea of fire and ice in the poetry very apparently. So friends, this is the end of the poetry, Fire and Ice. I hope you have enjoyed it, liked it, understood it. So if you like my video, like it, subscribe it, and also put the comments and share with your friends, relatives and neighbors. Thank you very much. We'll soon meet.